Hello there, Sam Ogren from Paperback Friends here, and I'm gonna ask you one question that might seem a tad bit controversial, but is Project Hail Mary, the book, overrated?
Damn it. What do you want?
Well, Gosling, what I want is to not take away any enjoyment that you might have had from the movie. I haven't seen it, and I probably never will, since I'm a book guy. Um, but I'm not here to take away enjoyment for you from either the book or the movie. But people have been praising this book a lot because I follow some book people, and people seem to really love this novel. And I want to push back a little bit to why I think it isn't the absolute masterpiece that everyone is saying that it is. So that if you haven't read it, or you don't care for the movie, or maybe you saw the movie and you're like, oh, do I have to read this now? How good is it? And I'm here to push back against that a little bit. So that'll be the purpose of this here episode. Or episode. Well, this here video, I guess. Too locked into my podcast way of thinking, I guess. But first and foremost, my biggest problem with this novel is that it wants to be a movie. And now that it is, right? I think Andy Weir, his books tend to be movies, or he wants his books to become movies. I don't know that, and I don't know how involved he is in the process, and maybe I should look that up, but I don't think it's that important actually for the conversation. The conversation for important for the conversation, however, is that this book really seems to want to be a movie. And what the heck does that mean? Well, to some people that could be a very good thing, right? It's written more like the scenes flow kind of like in a movie, and the way the characters talk and how they build, that feels very film-esque. And to me, as someone who doesn't particularly care for movies, sure, there's a handful, and I'm sure that I could find some sort of style or director or something that I would be to my liking. But I'm not really that invested into the medium, and there's so much crap there that just doesn't appeal to me at all. So I kind of given up a little bit on the medium, and I'm sticking more to games and music and stuff. So for me, a book is something entirely different. The pacing of a book and the way that you tell it's the story and how you just set your scenes. I think that a more traditional way of doing that is a much stronger and better way to do that. So the way that Veer does this in this book is rather annoying to me. So to more or to people that are less avid readers, not to talk down to anyone or anything, I guess this could be a good thing, but to me, it's something that does distract a little bit because it doesn't seem like Veer has confidence in the medium. Why wouldn't you just write the script for the movie to begin with if you didn't believe that you wanted this to be a book? And maybe that's harsh or crazy criticism, but it's genuinely how I feel because it hit me very hard. And as I was reading this and doing a little bit of research before my review episode in my podcast, I was like, oh, this is going to become a movie. And I was like, yeah, that fits. So there's another thing that I really feel like on the same kind of track, which is also very movie-esque. And it's like there is this, Die Hard, right? And I'm not going to shit on Die Hard. You already hate me enough. So, but the way that people are just defiant against the FBI, like, oh, the FBI is here, they're the bad guys because they want to do things by the book, or then or the blah blah blah, the commissioners, all of this like needless defiance in the movie that the hierarchy is bad, and and there's this weird thing where the action hero is the person who goes against the grain and whatnot. And while that kind of works for Die Hard, why is that in this fucking book? It doesn't make any sense because he helps out in the project without spoiling anything, right? He helps out in the project in the beginning, and then they're done with him, at least in the book. I don't know for the movie. I'm sure it's even emphasized there, but then he's like, I demand to be on the project. And he just walks into this secure place, this installation, and like, hey, I demand to be on the project. I need to be on this project. Where the fuck is that in there? I just don't understand. It feels so like, okay, well, that's a little weird. And if you're beginning to sense a pattern here, there is this other aspect where when he gets sent on the project, things go wrong. And naturally they should, otherwise it would be a different novel. Not impossible, of course, with minimal conflict, but things going wrong and having a bit of excitement should make this a better book, right? Or you could at least understand why it's in there. So I'm not complaining about that. However, for me, I think a few too many things just kind of go wrong, and then he fixes it, and then it goes wrong again, and then he fixes it. And I think that if you could skip some of these steps, maybe focus a bit more on some of the relationships in the novel and work those a little bit better. And I think that the focus here is a little off, because again, this feels more like how you would do a movie and not a book. In a book, you would probably focus a little bit less on the action and more on the characters and the philosophy. The book is also, where does it clock in, or how many pages? Yeah, it's close to 500. Let's see, in my edition, it's 476. So it's a pretty thick little boy here. Also, isn't it kind of funny that it doesn't this look like what's his face, Matt Damon? Doesn't this look a little bit like Matt Damon if you look at it quickly? I don't know. Anyway, my point is that I think it's a little bit too long for what we actually get. I think the good parts are in the prepping and in the figuring out the mystery and some of the other stuff that happens, but it drags a little bit toward the end. And I think if you cut some of that stuff, some of one last thing kind of going wrong here and there, and then dealing with that, and I think if you skip that and just kind of focus on resolving that, not through grand gestures, but rather through some of the friendships and the drive and how the like, if you focus on some of the other stuff and you wouldn't need this final moment, I think it would be stronger. The thing is, though, despite all this criticism, this is a really good book. To me, this is a perfect 3 out of 5 novel. I think it does a lot of things that's really good. The writing is pretty solid, the characters are interesting, the friendships are great, and I think that the premise alone is just super creative. And the way that Veer wrote this, in terms of just the creativeness of the process, it's a credible problem to happen. Some sort of algae creature, bacteria, siphons power from the sun, causing all manner of problems for Earth and its inhabitants. It also seems very well rehearsed in the sense that, the science checks out. I'm not a physicist, so I have no idea, right? But it seems credible, which is all that matters to me, that it's credible. Which is why some of the weird moral defiance and all that stuff just kind of comes off as a little formulaic and unnecessary when you spend so much time building the realism of the novel in other ways. You kind of toss it out the window with this fucking goofiness that I think the other stuff is. So I don't hate this novel. I think it's really good. But I don't think it's amazing and a must-read. I don't think anything is a must-read. But I would recommend this to someone who would want to get into reading, and someone who is maybe not an avid reader necessarily. This is a good entry point. Like it's not that you need to be and so if you read a lot, then you couldn't read this. That's not what I'm saying. But this is by no means a must read, and this is not the most epic book ever, which is kind of the narrative I hear around it right now. And I just wanted to push back against that a little bit, so that you don't have to read this. But if you're interested in it, or if you saw the movie and you want a deep dive, of course you should read it. It's not bad at all, but it is not as amazing as a lot of people say, or at least I don't think so. Let me correct that. At least I don't think so. And honestly, I think that's the point why I do this literary criticism and analysis as well. I'm not really saying like these novels are the greatest, or these are the worst, or this is better than that. I think those are uninteresting conversations. I like to just break down a book, look at it, what I think is cool, what I think is not so cool, and then from there try to just build my perspective and argue for that. Not so that I could beat someone else's argument or convince you that something is good or bad or better or worse, because it's all subjective. It has, like, that to me is an exercise in futility. That's super pointless. But I just wanted to give you my take, because one thing that I really don't like, it's the same with video games and music or anything, when everyone is just like, this is super great and it's overhyped. I'm usually the guy who's like, not to be contrarian, but sometimes then I just be like, yeah, maybe we could ease up a little bit on the praise here. So if you wanted another take on this novel, here you go. But thank you so much for watching, and as I've so subtly put in a few times in this video already, I have a book podcast called Paperback Friends. If you want to check it out, I have a longer episode. It's one of the older episodes, so I don't know how well it holds up, but I review this book and I review tons of other books, and I have book discussions, and sometimes I have guests. I'm working on getting more, but you know, people are busy and it's hard. So yeah, but if you want to check it out, please do. If not, I thank you for watching this video and have a great day.